Well, I'm so glad to be joined by Cass from Clutterbug and Dana from A Slob Comes Clean. And today we want to solve the problem for you, the problem of procrastination and lack of motivation when it comes to decluttering. And so we hear all the time from so many of our friends that I got started, it was going really well, and then all of a sudden, like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I've just hit a wall when it comes to decluttering. And so we're going to use this idea of body doubling to help you find motivation and to break through procrastination. And so, Cass, you brought this up the other day. It's actually a tactic used for many people with ADHD. And so you have been diagnosed with ADHD, I believe, correct? So
Yeah.
Can you explain to us a little bit what this idea of body doubling is?
Yeah, I just found out about this recently within the past 6 months, actually, because I have ADHD. I was diagnosed 3 years ago, and I'm kind of obsessed now with finding ways to cope that aren't necessarily always medication. And
Yeah.
I'm like lack of motivation all day, every day. So one of the techniques that I read about that a lot of forums, a lot of people who have ADHD are saying like, this just works. This isn't coming from doctors. This is coming from people who actually struggle with motivation. They're saying body doubling, which is keeping you focused and motivated by having somebody in the room with you while you're doing a task.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they're distracting you. They're not talking to you. They could be
Yeah.
just quietly sitting. They could be doing the task with you. You can even virtually body double. It's why a lot of people go to Starbucks when they want to write or do
Yes.
work, or they study in the library. Just having people around you keeps your brain focused on your task and keeps you motivated longer.
It's also why when I'm learning why people watch clean with me videos. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of us just watch them, and some of us actually do it with them. But it is amazing, as I was reading about this, that it does actually work virtually as well. Now, there's one caveat, though, and that is that not just anyone can necessarily be a body double for you. It's actually really key that the person be positive and encouraging. Because what I'm also learning is those with ADHD, or any of us that have some kind of perceived deficit, or even we've just disqualified ourselves from thinking we could declutter or do other things successfully, we already beat ourselves up and think there's something wrong with us. So if our body double is at all going to give the perception that we don't know what we're doing, we're not doing it right, it won't be successful, right?
It's not a boss. We don't want a boss.
It's a cheerleader. So what I really love as we've worked with Dana over the last couple of years is, Dana, I feel like you rally around those who have felt defeated and discouraged. And I told Dana as we did an Instagram live, I'm like, you are the perfect body double because you get it. Like, you have been there. And so, Dana, how do you encourage those who have like totally disqualified themselves?
Well, I think I have to say first too, like, because when you said the word cheerleader, I went,
I don't like cheerleaders.
because you can do it. When I'm like, can I? Because I've never done it before. Like, that doesn't actually help me at all. So, what was your question again? So
She also has ADHD.
I'm diagnosed by so many people on the internet, but not officially. Anyway, go ahead. What was it?
So how do you encourage people then? Because I appreciate that, because you don't just say, you got this, keep going. Like, how have you find the best way to motivate those who are like, squirrel?
I think the first thing to do is to acknowledge that it's a real issue. Because sometimes when there is a cheerleader mentality, my reaction to that is, you're telling me that all I need is somebody smiling at me. And I'm like, yeah, that's not actually helpful to me. Instead, I need you to admit that this is a real issue and give me real solutions. Like, acknowledge that it's not just do your dishes. I mean, what is it? Because that's what I've always felt. Like, when we're talking about not having somebody in the room who's just a judge, I've always felt like, why don't you just do this? That's not helpful.
Right.
Okay. But instead to say, okay, if you will do this, this is the impact that it's going to have. Yeah. And we acknowledge that your reason for not doing these things is not that you're dumb. It's that you have some either thinking of it in the wrong way, because I thought of things in the wrong way. I thought of things as a project. where in reality that was doing more harm than good. So I think it's just acknowledging it's a real issue, acknowledging the thought processes and the actions that have not been helpful, and then saying, okay, these are the things that actually are helpful, and coming from the perspective of this is what has worked for me.
Yeah.
As someone who always, has also always struggled. And I think that's where I love working together with the two of you, is we've all come from that place. We've all come from the place of having done things that just didn't work. That's so much more helpful than just, can't you just see this?
Yes. And that's actually what I was reading too about also a good coach, and that I think both of you fit in so well with that, is they help you to keep the end goal in mind. So when I get into it and I'm like, oh, I don't know, and I'm holding something up and I'm like, should I keep it? Should I not? It's like, okay, remember, you want your house to be super easy to keep clean. Like, you want it to be a really peaceful place for your family to hang out at the end of the day. You want to be able to have guests over. Like, that wasn't ever my number one motivation, but wouldn't it be super nice if someone could swing by and I didn't have to scramble when I saw them coming up the driveway? And so I think we've all been able to say, hey, I know you spent money on that. I know someone gave it to you as a gift. I know you feel kind of guilty about it, but we want to get to this other point, and this thing is standing in the way. So we're going to give you permission to let it go, and it's going to be so freeing. And that's the way we cheer you on. And I totally agree. Other people sometimes that declutter, they're like, just get rid of it. Like, and it's like demeaning. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why can't you just part with something? It's just stuff, right? And you're like, because I have 100 reasons swirling in my mind why I might need it someday or why I shouldn't let it go. So I love that, and I appreciate it so much. And so this is also now why I've realized the all-day declutter, that is just one facet of the Take Your House Back course, is so magical. We've all kind of had difficulty putting words to it, but we're like, it is the energy on that day you can't describe. And I think this is part of it. So Cass, why don't you tell us a little bit about the next all-day declutter that's coming up on Saturday the 10th?
Yeah, I'm so excited about that. We are doing an all-day declutter is basically body doubling on steroids. So it is a group of us with you all doing the same space at the same time virtually. We are your coaches. We're sort of there to keep you focused, keep you motivated. But I think it's the energy from everybody else that's really magical. It's literally thousands of people working on the same space, people just like you who have the same struggles, who are tired of the clutter and the mess and the constant tidying, who want to take back control of their home. And we are starting at 8 a.m. and we are working in the kitchen first. So we have an hour with Dawn, an hour with Dana, and then an hour with me to get it not only decluttered, but organized too, to get a space at the end of this day that you're proud of, that you've made real progress in. And that kind of progress comes from accountability, it comes from motivation, and it comes from having a team at your side.
Yeah, I love that so much. And so if you go to takeyourhouseback.com, the course is actually on special just to the end of the day on Wednesday. And so it is just $94 right now, normally $297. It probably should be even way more than that, all of the value that we jam pack into it. But we do also have a payment plan available, so you can split that up over 3 months if it's helpful. And so what's so cool about the course is that you have the actual course itself, which is full of instructional videos. And so that's the course that you get logged into, and we go through, the kitchen, Dana's method for decluttering without making a mess. And so all of that's there, and you can access it anytime. But then we also noticed, I think because us all do need a little extra accountability, that we needed these events throughout the year where you put it on the calendar and you have an appointment to declutter and have body doubles there. And so we've added in the all-day declutters. They take place a few times throughout the year, and it's a bonus add-on, but it really has been magical. So we would love it if you can join us for that. So here's what's funny, guys. So over the weekend, then we're finishing off our office building, and we knew the sheetrockers were coming today, Tuesday. And so it was yesterday. It's Labor Day, it's a holiday. It would have been nice if we were just hanging out and relaxing. But Tom knew there was 2 things he had to get done in there that were going to take most of the day. And so it's like 8:30 in the morning. We're still sitting in our chairs in our bedroom, like having coffee and visiting. And I'm like looking at the clock thinking like, I really don't want to be a nag, but my goodness, he needs to get out there and start going on this stuff. And so finally I was like, hey, should I just come sit out there with you? It wasn't stuff that I could help with. It was on a ladder and everything. But I'm like, I'm trying to get some stuff organized for the kids' homeschool. I can bring a hotspot out there and go sit out there with you. And so he was like, yeah, you can do that. Like, he was kind of like playing it off like it's not really going to help, but whatever. So I went and sat out there. He got to work, and it was amazing. Once he got into it, it didn't even take as long as he had built it up in his head that it was going to take. So I'm like using this now to manipulate Tom to get things done.
I use it to manipulate my kids too. It really works. Like, you can't say to them, clean your room. Sometimes they procrastinate and they nag. But if it's like, okay, let's do this together. I'll clean my room and you clean your room at the same time. For some reason, that is, it's like you have support without needing someone supporting you. Does that make sense?
With my daughter, she'd been wanting to go through all of her clothes, declutter the things that she didn't, and she had just been putting it off. And I was like, I'll just come up there. And so I just sat there, like literally sat there, and we, she'd put outfits together and stuff. And it was like, okay, like that's all we needed. Like we got so much done, stuff that in her mind was going to take so many hours. It was like a fun hour of sitting there together, and everything was done.
And you don't have to have someone physically there. That's the power, I feel like, of the internet. So I didn't even know what body doubling was, but I think before I would call my best friend on the phone and we clean our houses at the same time while just being on the phone together. But it's the same as having a group, a team of online, all doing it together at the same time, chatting together at the same time and talking. It's really, really powerful.
And I just love this idea. If you feel like nothing has worked for you or there's something wrong with you, I think we're here to say that's not it at all. You might just have to try something a little bit different. And so how cool to be able to spend $94 on a course. And actually, let me read some of these testimonies, because it's just always so cool to hear. Tiffany says, looking at my home now after a year of being part of your group and very minimal effort on my part, it's a night and day difference. I don't even have a catch-all room anymore. Whoa, that's huge. Teresa says, the group and the course are amazing. Getting inspiration from these three experts is priceless. Terry says, you three together are magical. Also, now my neighbors and friends ask me how to organize. Barbara said, it is so worth it. Best money spent since I don't even know when. Jen says, I signed up and took the course over a year ago. Worth every penny. It's been such a blessing. And so we'll give you your money back if you sign up and you're like, oh, it wasn't for me. But we don't ever give anyone's money back, quite honestly, because there is something kind of magical about three messy people coming together and just combining our best of our best ideas to really help you out. The other thing you're going to find in the course is hours of live Q&As where we just go through your nitty-gritty questions. How do I get my kids on board? How do I help them clean their room? They're older. What do we do? It's kind of fun that between the three of us, we have like all the gamuts covered of different ages of kids and different levels of supportiveness from our spouses too. So there's really very few situations that one of us haven't experienced. And so I feel like that's part of kind of the magic of the course as well.
And so much feedback of people saying they're listening to the lives while cleaning. So while decluttering, it's creating that motivation with literal hours and hours and hours of us just, it's okay. We get it. We've been there. Just what's one thing that can go right now?
Yeah. So Dana, what would you just say to someone who's maybe on the fence today, not sure if they should invest in themselves, or saying, I've tried everything, it hasn't worked?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, three messy people coming together, three people who this was not natural to, gives us a unique perspective, and the combination of those perspectives and the combination of those journeys to all arrive at a very similar place. I think that's where the magic is. So, we're all cheapskates. Like we really struggled. I mean, we talked so much about how are we going to price this, whatever. Yeah. We get it. We get that it's an investment, and yet there is power in the conversations that the three of us have together, the perspectives that we have together, and we're all on the same page. It's very strange to me how we can all be on the same page about so many things, and yet we got there in our own unique journey. So there's just a lot of power in that.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome. And of course, if you can't join us on Saturday, September 10th, it is all recorded. And like we've been talking about, it is effective if you have to go back and watch it at a different time. We hear that all the time. And all of the previous All Day Declutters are stored in the course as well. So you could even go back and watch other All Day Declutters to find that extra motivation and energy that you need as well. So we have jam-packed this with value, and we really want for you to join us. So again, that special price of $94, it ends tomorrow, Wednesday at midnight. So we hope that you sneak in before that ends, and then we will see you on Saturday, and we are gonna get a ton done. But most importantly, you're gonna feel so good about yourself. I know how we beat ourselves up for this. We say we're lazy, we're unorganized, we're bad moms, we're bad wives. We know all those feelings, and we say, okay, enough of that. We're gonna give you the tools you need. You already know way more than you think because you've been hanging out with the three of us. You're already looking at your stuff differently. You literally just need that date on the calendar to get going. And so that is Saturday, and we really hope that you can join us. All right, well, go to takeyourhouseback.com. We love you. We hope you have a really good day, and we really hope that we can see you on Saturday.